freedom of expression has to mean something.
Expecting quite the media circus later today. Look at this goon. Look at this guy.
Hoping that Tamara doesn't go to jail.
Appalled at what I see.
It's all about our freedom. It woke up Canada, it woke up the world. And what's happening to them is completely unjustified.
It's not right, it's not equal, it's not fair, it's not justice. A shocking and disappointing day for our nation today and for our rights and freedoms. Despite what some are saying that today was a win for Chris Barber and Tamara Lich, I do not see it that way. While I am happy that they will be able to spend their sentence with their families and not in the penitentiary or the jail, I still think that the 18-month conditional sentence handed down to both of them is extraordinary and extremely severe. I think I am taken aback by this sentence. As a person fully appraised of all of the information of this case and someone who has followed this from the beginning for the vast majority of this and have seen the evidence presented and the arguments made, people are saying it's a win because the Crown wanted 7 or 8 years. I think it's a dangerous precedent, and it's very also concerning that these decisions are only seeming to go one way. It was brought up by Ezra Levant a couple times with the different lawyers, Diane Magus, and I believe also with Mr. Greenspun.
Protest is allowed. That's not the issue. It's the manner of the protest that
Do you think there's a double standard with how Hamas protesters are really unmolested by police?
Yeah.
None of them are being jailed. There's no 3-year prosecutions like this for mischief, whereas trucker protesters have been jailed and the enormous amount of resources thrown at them.
It's hard for me to comment on another protest that I don't know the facts of each of the protests. So it's, I can't comment on that, unfortunately. I can tell you that this trial took very long to succeed or complete, but I can't comment on the other ones.
Do you think there's been a double standard with how the truckers are being treated with jailing, prosecution, enormous resources compared to the pro-Hamas protests that block streets in Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, and elsewhere? Is there a double standard on the streets?
I think that this case on its own demonstrates the conflict between freedom of expression and peaceful assembly, and as contrasted with some of the other protests that you're referring to, the pro-Palestinian protests. There's definitely a different way that those are being treated as opposed to the way that this peaceful assembly and freedom of expression was treated in this courtroom.
Why is it that Chris and Tamara are treated this way? Well, other protesters favoring the left or other causes are being given slaps on the wrist and allowed to walk away. Certainly, this is not equal justice. It seems extremely punitive. And again, I'll reiterate, I'm happy that they're going to get house arrest. It's a 18-month conditional sentence, 12 months of which house arrest, with exceptions for working and other getting out of the house reasons, but that's extraordinarily severe. Conditional sentence is a jail sentence, and then the other 6 months of the sentence are to be spent on curfew, not allowed to be out of the house between 10 at night and 5 in the morning. And the judge listed off all the reasons: the collateral damage they suffered, the risk to Mr. Barber's cross-border business, and the defense wanted an absolute discharge. The judge said right away that that's not going to happen. Justice Heather Perkins McVeigh of the Ontario Court of Justice saying that that was an inappropriate sentence, while also rebuking the Crown and saying that the Crown's 7 or 8 year demand for Tamara and Chris respectively is also not going to happen and totally out of bounds. I think the 18-month sentence for both of them is again inappropriate and excessive. I think it will provide a stepping stone to the Crown on appeal to try and ask for a higher and harsher punishment. And the stepping stone that I can imagine at this time, as a layperson who's watched some of this, I can conceive of some of the arguments that might be made by the Crown saying, well, this is a judge who has been quite lenient on Chris and Tamara. She made a lot of positive findings or non-negative findings, and she still gave them 18 months. We think that's a mistake. Give them 7 or 8 years. I believe that, this is certainly just the beginning. Everyone who's informed knows that. There's going to be appeals. I think Mr. Greenspun himself said that they're seriously considering appealing the sentence.
So yes, in that sense, we are still very seriously considering an appeal. of the conviction for mischief.
I need a little bit of today on my
but as
shoulder.
far as the sentence goes, we're pleased that she is not going to be spending any more time in jail.
The sentence was beyond my wildest expectations. In my wildest dreams, I thought maybe Chris Barber could get 6 months of house arrest and Tamara would possibly walk away with time served or a very minimal amount of house arrest. 18 months is beyond my wildest expectations and my most surreal maximum possibilities. Again, it's impossible to predict exactly how things will go in the courtroom or how the proceedings will end. But this is a shocker. I am shocked. I asked both Diane Magus and Mr. Lawrence Greenspun if they were shocked by this decision. Are you surprised by the verdict today, sentence today, Ms. Magus?
No, I'm not. It was expected to be in the realm of sentences, the sentencing that were provided to other members or leaders of the convoy. So it was an expected sentence.
Greenspun, were you surprised by the sentence today? The duration?
Given the range, absolute discharge to 7 years, there's really nothing that could surprise me. What surprised me was that in 45 years of doing this work, I've never been this far apart from the Crown in terms of a sentencing position. The judge made comments about the Crown's sentencing position, and I'll leave you to that.
Ms. Magus, her response was not very strong, but I think Mr. Greenspun said that, this is the case that he's worked in his entire 40 plus years as a lawyer, where the Crown and the defense are the furthest apart they've ever been, where the Crown wants 7 to 8 years, defense wants absolute discharges. And you're going to see this because I'm going to overlay it. I spoke to the supporters this morning about what they felt about coming here today. Why did they come here? Someone told me that it woke them up, that they couldn't miss it. I'm going to play that for you to watch. Why are you here today?
I am here to support Chris and Tamara for what they did for Canada.
And what?
The Freedom Convoy woke me up politically about how corrupt our governments are, and what's happening to them is completely unjust, and it's all about our freedom. It woke up Canada, it woke up the world, and what's happening to them is completely unjustified. They're patriotic Canadians that stood up for their country. They rallied and helped encourage thousands, hundreds of thousands of Canadians across the country, and it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's amazing. It's amazing the grassroots people who showed up here in Ottawa. It was a beautiful thing, and thank you for showing up, man. Beautiful Canada.
Thank you for all your work, brother. You're killing it. You're doing a fantastic job.
All right, so what do you think about all this?
It's we're down to the line. Either the government's gonna fold or they stand up, but it's gonna make. But I needed to be here. I needed them to know that I'm very grateful to them for what they started and what they did for us Canadians. Yes, before the convoy, I was very down, and now I needed to be here to say thank you in person for them and to support them in whatever they're gonna do, whatever's gonna happen today. So yes.
And then when I was talking to Mr. Greenspun, I said, if in all of the weeds of what's been covered about this case, all the things that have been said, what is one message you would like Canadians to know who may not have heard it because of the weeds and whatever? And he said that freedom of expression has to mean something.
Freedom of expression has to mean something when it is encouraging peaceful assembly, and those two things are both constitutionally protected fundamental freedoms. That has to mean something, and it has to mean, unfortunately for some, that it prevails over the right to enjoyment of property, which is nowhere to be found in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
And again, reiterating his famous line, his mantra, that in a contest between freedom of expression and property rights, where property rights are not included in the Charter, there is no contest.
Lawrence, was a balance struck by the judge in this case in terms of freedom of expression, in terms of the right to protest?
No, there was none, and in Canada, constitutionally protected freedom of speech, which encourages peaceful assembly, must prevail over the rights of property owners, the enjoyment of property. It's not an equal balance, and that's the primary basis that we're considering for an appeal of conviction.
And unfortunately for people who are suffering lack of enjoyment and use of property, freedom of expression has to come first. So I can imagine possibly and most likely an appeal from both sides. The Crown will not be satisfied with the 18 months and they will seek heavier sentencing, and they will use this sentence as a stepping stone. They're also, of course, appealing the case of Pat King and other situations. I think those are the two biggest appeals happening right now. I know Mr. Chaba Vizzi recently was found not guilty because of serious charter violations in his case, but I would not be surprised to see the Crown try to appeal that in some way, but maybe they won't, because the charter violations are serious and the evidence of them are significant. There's no arresting officer put forward, so they can't guarantee that his charter rights were satisfied. Therefore, his charter rights were not satisfied and they were violated. Therefore, his arrest was unlawful. His search incident to arrest was unlawful. But yeah, I'm absolutely blown away, shocked and horrified by the 18-month ruling today against both Chris and Tamara, that the judge sentenced Chris Barber first to 18-month conditional sentence, 12 months of house arrest, 6 months of curfew. Again, a conditional sentence is a jail sentence in the technical terms, not a custodial sentence, but it is a jail sentence, and it will absolutely be used as a stepping stone on appeal by the Crown to a more harsh and significant sentence, the one that they really want. But in the meantime, they may be able to leave their property for work. There wasn't any restrictions mentioned about social media that I was aware of, or even exclusions of talking to people, actually. So I don't know if their bail will carry over, or if maybe their exclusions of talking to people without the presence of counsel, with only in the presence of counsel, will be removed. I'll follow up on that. There was some back and forth about Mr. Barber's ability to leave Saskatchewan, as the order says in the statutory part that you must stay within the jurisdiction of the court. So in Saskatchewan, stay within Saskatchewan. But it sounds also like the judge is leaving a lot of leniency for the supervisor of the conditional sentence from, I guess, the Parole Board of Canada or whoever it is, to allow, or the Canada's probation system, to allow them to be able to maybe go cross-border. But at the very least, again, Chris can see his family. He can go and do winter maintenance at his property, his parents' property just down the road. He can go and do other maintenance there. He can go for any family emergencies for his children, his grandchildren, for his parents who are very close to him. He can continue to be close, and to his precious dog Zippy, who's older in age now, and I know he would have been heartbroken to be away from him. But an 18-month conditional sentence, 12 months house arrest, 6 months curfew is a disaster, especially when we look at the state of protest in this country. Left-wing protesters walking away, getting a slap on the wrist. How many pro-Palestinian protesters in Ottawa have had their mischief charges dropped? How many of them were never dropped? How many of the people fighting with police at CanSec conference here in Ottawa, wearing helmets, shoving riot cops? How many of them were charged? Very little. How many of them will probably have their charges dropped if they were? Probably all of them. How many mischief charges have been dropped? Several. How many? The fines for their noise-making violations, all gone. It's ridiculous what's happening. There's a double standard in this country. It is a dark day for justice, which is supposed to be blind and equal, and ours is neither, folks. So watch these interviews of people telling me why they had to be here today. Watch my interview with Diane Magus, and also the interview with Mr. Greenspan, where he went over, and multiple times mainstream media attempted to have him say, basically, how much is Tamara crying right now? How remorseful is she? And then going on and on about the harm to Ottawa.
Has Ms. Lich ever expressed any type of remorse for her role in this, even though she did not advocate for violence, but it resulted in $65 million of police costs? Plus,
You heard the portion of the letter that she wrote, and she recognized, as did Mr. Barber, that there were many people in the downtown core and businesses that were affected by the Freedom Convoy. She doesn't deny that. The question of was there remorse for what she did? No. She pled not guilty. She's been found guilty of mischief. We're seriously looking at appealing that finding.
What about the harm to Canadians who are subjected to totally unjustified and cruel mandates, having their families ripped apart, literally wrestled out of grandma's house because one too many people gathered, or getting arrested for skating on a pond in the lockdown? That's where our country was. That's a dark place, and it's not okay to treat people like second-class citizens. None of that was okay. All of that was unspeakable, but it happened, and we're here, and this is not a good decision. I am very happy that they get to be with their families, but it's nothing to celebrate. It is a dark day and a dark step in this country. And also worth mentioning was the media. The media here was behaving extraordinarily poorly. There was a guy, when I was talking to Diane Magus, who kept tugging on my shoulder. So after the fact, I asked him, why you stop doing that? And then one of the other camera guys literally told me that they're entitled to, I guess, whatever they want to do. What's your name, man? This guy, don't touch people.
Don't stick your fucking mic.
I was here first. So don't touch me. Don't touch me. Okay, listen, we were here first. Yes, we were here first. I was here at 8 in the morning. You weren't here. You weren't here at 8 in the morning. Check my film. Check my film. Don't touch other people. You're not allowed to touch. You're not entitled to a shot. You're not entitled to anything. No, you're not. You're not entitled to anything. No, no, you're not. You don't get to assault people. You're not a police officer. You're not a police officer. Keep your hands to yourselves. And then when Tamara came out after the sentencing, and I guess they arranged the transfer of jurisdiction for their conditional sentence from here in Ontario to Saskatchewan, there was a bit like all hell broke loose. They were trying to impede them as they were going to the vehicles. The media swarmed them. The security had to push them out of the way. And at one point, the police had to rip a photographer for one of the MSM outlets off of Tamara's vehicle because he had basically pressed himself against it. It was ridiculous.
Tamara!
There's Tamara!
Tamara, how you feeling?
They're trying to get in front of her. Look at the media. Look at these guys. Look at these guys. Look at this. Look at this guy. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this guy. He's insane. This guy here, super hands-on. Like, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Arrest him. Look at this goon. Look at this guy. Yeah, arrest him.
Yeah, you were shoving your way like
That's not justice.
that's what it is, typical.
What a joke.
Let them away, let them run away.
That's insane, dude. Carnival, there was a fight earlier this day between Brian Dirksen and another person. Oh, fuck is happening over here? It's a circus here in Ottawa at Chris and Tamara's sentencing.
Take a picture.
All right, hey, I'm getting arrested for what? Oui, c'est moi. C'est pas moi qui ai soigné, regarde-moi là. Ah, regarde-moi. C'est pas moi qui ai soigné, pas tout. J'ai rien fait, il est venu sur moi. Il est venu sur moi. Qu'est-ce que vous faites?
High tensions, but I think I also want to mention that there was standing ovations in the courtroom every time the judge would leave. And we're on an intermission right after Chris's sentence. There was 2 rounds of applause from the entire courtroom, which is 90% packed with supporters, a couple of media, and maybe a very small handful of agitators who made themselves known, but overwhelming support for the 2 of them today. And then again, more rounds standing ovation for Tamara Lich. But I am glad they get to go home, be with their families, locked in their home with some exceptions. Tamara, for example, is going to be able to go to see her grandchild born in December. Chris and Tamara are both going to be allowed to leave for work. But it's not right, it's not equal, it's not fair, it's not justice. And I think the weather agrees. From Ottawa, I'm John Villeneuve.